Hey everybody, Bill Allen with Seven Figure Flipping, and I'm doing a coaching call for my mastermind members on Wednesday night about the whole CARES Act and talking about frequently asked questions and answering any of their questions and stuff. And remember, I'm just a guy who's applied for some of these loans, has read the documents, and is keeping up with it on a real time. I'm not a CPA, I'm not a lawyer, anything like that. But I wanted to get this out to my members and all of you guys who've kind of been following along the journey with this PPP and EIDL loans and all the things that we've been doing, is just get this up. And if anybody gets some value from this, great. But the SBA came out with an update today, April 6th. So I'm recording this the evening of April 6th, today at about 10:15 Eastern time. And I'll just share my screen. There's a couple of updates and gotchas on the EIDL loan that they just keep throwing us curveballs. So I'll share my screen with you guys and we'll kind of go through it. So there's a couple things I want to talk about. Just the update of the PPP, the PLP, which I don't see a lot of people talking about, which might help you. And I'll share that in a second. And then the EIDL loan, the disaster relief loan. So just a quick review, the PPP is a Paycheck Protection Program. So that's for payroll. So all of you guys who have W-2 employees, it came out recently that no 1099 contractors are going to be included. If you are a 1099 contractor, you can apply for it. They'll start accepting on April 10th. And for a lot of us small business owners, LLCs, S corporations, things like that, they took them April 3rd, but most of them started taking applications today, April 6th. So I know that mine's been pushed up and they're working on getting those going. So I've applied for both of these loans, so I'll kind of follow along my journey with you guys. But I'm going to go through some of these updates now. And the big thing that the PLP is, and I don't want to confuse you guys with all these acronyms, but being a military guy, that's like all we use. So it's a preferred lender program. So what that means is they don't have to put it up through the SBA. So if you guys can find a preferred lender, right now they're saying that a lot of this triple P money, this PPP money could be running out. So a preferred SBA lender, so somebody who's already been, there's a couple of banks that I saw when I did a search that are preferred lenders. What that means is they can approve SBA loans in-house is what it seems. So not a lot of people talking about that. So if you are thinking about doing this Paycheck Protection Program and you have a preferred lender that you bank with through the SBA, I recommend going there because it seems like it streamlines the process a little bit. So that's just a quick tip for you guys before we get started. So let me share my screen and I'll go through some of these frequently asked questions and updates that came out today. So here's you guys can see this is the Sba Bulletin on April 6, 2020 at 10:12 a.m. Eastern time. So quick review, Paycheck Protection Program, up to $10 million, 1% interest, no 1099 contractors, your W-2 employees. Basically, you send in your payrolls, your 941s, and you can do all the calculations. If you have questions on that, you can go back to some of the previous videos that I've done. But a great loan up to 8 weeks after you get it that can be forgivable if used for payroll, and 75% needs to be on payroll. And we'll talk about that here. So here's proof. Borrowers comply for both the EIDL and Paycheck Protection Program loans. So the SBA talked about that. They can't be used for the same purpose. So we'll talk about, I'm going to go down a little bit further because they talk a little bit about some recommendations here. The Paycheck Protection, I talked about this in my last video. The PPP loan must be used for payroll. So 75% of the funds received for payroll. The other 25% could be used for mortgage, interest, rent, utilities, and other services. Document the use of the funds, makes sense. And any advance up to $10,000 on the EIDL will be deducted from the loan forgiveness amount of the Paycheck Protection Program. So we'll talk about this right here. For example, a borrower may obtain a loan from the Paycheck Protection Program and use those funds to pay for 8 weeks of payroll or employee retention. They may wish to then dedicate the entire EIDL funds towards working capital, notes payable, and accounts payable that do not duplicate the funds provided through the PPP. If the EIDL loan was used for payroll expenses, the borrower must refinance the EIDL loan with the PPP loan, which carries a lower interest rate as well as a shorter maturity period. So I think the big kind of takeaway for me here is use this PPP loan for the first 8 weeks, and then you'll see the deadline here. The EIDL loan runs through December 2020. So I can use that for the first 8 weeks and then use my my EIDL funds, if you do get both, for accounts payable that don't duplicate the funds, notes payable, working capital, stuff like that. And you've really got, I'm going to do another video strictly on the EIDL loan, but you really got to dig into what it can be used for, because it does talk about what it can be used for. Long-term debt is what a lot of real estate investors that you guys are refinancing long-term debt and things like that can be used for. So remember, this loan is up to $2 million at 3.75% over 30 years. So it's a great loan, especially for most of you rehabbers and flippers, if you've seen some economic impact due to this, and you can use it to refinance some of your mortgages. If you're applying for both, you can accept a PPP first, then decide whether or not to close on your EIDL approved loan. So it might be a good thing that you guys haven't gotten your $10,000 yet. So everybody's saying, has anybody seen this money? Has anybody seen this money? So here's in red, I highlighted this kind of big gotcha change today. And I'm interested to see how this plays out. You'll get follow-up videos from me about my communications with the SBA and my bank. But this EIDL loan advances will start to be distributed this week. So they're saying they're starting to distribute these loans this week, and $1,000 per employee up to $10,000 max. So what this is telling me right here is they're going to say, if you have one employee, then they're going to start distributing advances of $1,000. If you have 5 employees, distributing advances of $5,000. So I don't know how they know that. So I've applied for my EIDL loan in one of my companies. A lot of people that I know have as well, and they haven't heard from a processor. So what it looks like is that everybody was quoting 3 days. People think it's 3 days when they put their application in. It's actually 3 days once a processor has been assigned, and then you'll start to see that advance if you requested the advance. If you didn't request the advance, then they're going to look at and probably ask for more documentation, ask for some proof, and then they're going to come up with a loan amount that they're going to send to you. And then you can basically appeal that and ask for more, give proof that you need more, why, all of these things. And this is the process that I've read about that I'm assuming is going to happen. Again, follow along with me, subscribe here. I'm just going to follow along this whole process. So hopefully I can give you guys some good gauge on what I see in my process. So in our applications on the SBA website, it doesn't say, one of the questions is not how many employees that you have. One of the questions on the PPP application does say how many employees you have. 2 totally different processes. So I'm not sure how they would know if we have 5, 8, 10 employees to give up to 10,000 max. So this may be something that the SBA is going to ask for right away when a processor gets assigned. Say, hi, how many employees do you have on staff? Send me your 941. Your returns, and then you can send it to them and show that you have 5 employees, and then they'll advance $5,000 within 3 days. So that's a guess. We'll see what happens. Again, this is April 6th that I'm recording this video. This stuff is changing minute by minute, day by day. So it also says, I want to highlight this to you guys. So if you apply for this loan back when the SBA announced it and the CARES Act came out, and they didn't have this streamlined process, it says to reapply with the secure streamlined process. You will not lose your place in the queue with your original EIDL loan application, is what they say. So if you haven't used this link to apply, make sure you go back and reapply. And if you're not sure, my recommendation, since it says you won't lose your place in line, is to go reapply. Here's a personal guarantee that I thought was interesting. In the initial documents, it said that the EIDL loan will not require a personal guarantee under $200,000. And now they've come out with this. This is the first time that I've seen this, that they will not require real estate collateral for loans under $500,000. And the SBA will be looking for the best available lien priority on all business assets. So they'll look at your business if you're getting a loan for $1 million or $2 million on what they can put a lien on. So those are the updates that I saw today. Again, we talked about broad brush PPP, ability to use both, this preferred lender program, so that PLP. So if you are looking to get this loan streamlined quickly and make sure that you get in line before some of the other people who are going through a non-preferred lender through the SBA, it will streamline the process from what I've been told. And then the EIDL is up to $1,000 per employee. So if it's just you, or it's 3 other people, or you have 5 people working for you, you may not get up to the full $10,000 that a lot of people were assuming they were going to get. So all these overlays are happening. As a military guy, this happens in the military all the time. We get a document, and then other documents are placed on it that are more restrictive, and we just have to follow the one that's more restrictive. So I'm used to it. I know that everybody else isn't, and it's not ideal, but just keep up with me or whoever's putting out information on this. And again, I'm just using the source documents. I'm a guy who applied for these loans in my companies as well, and I'm in the same position as all of you. So if you have any questions, post them down below. I'll answer. Subscribe. I'm going to put out a video like every day that I see an update, and I don't see a lot of people talking about this preferred lender stuff. So I highly recommend you look for a SBA preferred lender, but keep in mind that the issue that we're seeing right now is all these banks are kind of requiring you to have a banking relationship with them ahead of time as of February 15th, 2020. So what I've seen, a lot of banks they're just overwhelmed and have too much going on. I also saw today that Wells Fargo had maxed out at $10 billion and they weren't taking loan applications. So just make sure that you're thinking about that and thinking ahead of where you're going to apply. And if you are a sole proprietor, a 1099 contractor, and you're going to apply on the 10th, I would start talking to your bank now and see if you can fill out an application and give it to them so they can process it on the 10th. Those are some of my recommendations for today. And I don't know, subscribe, hang out with us. And I'm doing all this for my mastermind members in 7-figure flipping. So primarily dedicated to kind of wholesalers and house flippers and real estate investors out there. So thanks guys. And if you want to check us out, you can see us on 7figureflipping.com. See you.